Hey everyone, today is Friday, August 2nd, and my last video was a couple weeks ago, and there has been a lot that's happened since then. I kept putting off this video thinking my next doctor's appointment would solidify something, and then I'd go to that doctor's appointment and it wouldn't. So I figured I should just go ahead and hop on and kind of tell you where I'm at right now. So to kind of back up, my last treatment was a week ago yesterday, and that was treatment number 7. It went pretty normal. I was my typical Saturday, Sunday that I was kind of just sore and I didn't really do anything. Saturday I was a complete bum actually, and caught up on an entire series of the show on Netflix. They're just short little 20-30 minute shows, and I watched an entire season that day. So it was a really productive day on the Netflix side, but nothing else. And oh well, I guess. But yeah, I was tired. I haven't been sleeping very well. Primarily because I've been having hot flashes and night sweats like crazy. I am currently in a menopausal state, so I'm not having my period, but I am having the effects of menopause. So hot flashes just come up, and it's just, I've known a lot of people with hot flashes, and now to experience it, it's just, you thought you kind of understood and had empathy for them, and then you go through it and it's like, no, you didn't understand. You can still have that empathy for them, but last night, for example, I wake up probably 2 or 3 times a night, like really wake up, and then I have to go to the bathroom because I'm drinking all this water because I'm having this hot flash, and try and get situated in bed, and I'm just flopping around like a fish. But last night, at least twice, maybe even 3 times, but I woke up and I was kind of getting reorganized and moved my head, and when I went and kind of moved it back, it was like wet. My pillow was wet. So I'm just sweating so bad. Most of mine's like on the back of my head is where I sweat. You know, my upper lip might sweat a little bit, but I just sweat like in the back and down my back. But my shirt was damp on both sides. So I'm just hotter than anything. I was telling my husband the other day, if you could like cut off my head, I really think there would be a fire inside. Like flames would come out. It's just a internal just fire that you feel, and there's nothing really you can do about it. You know, I try and literally stick my head in the freezer, and it helps to a certain extent. I mean, it cools your surface obviously, but you have to just let the internal like cool down on its own. But yeah, the night sweats and just hot flashes are crazy. So that's my big thing right now. My eyebrows are very sparse. Like, I don't know. It's kind of like when I was losing my hair. It's like, should I just shave it and be done with it? Or like, what do I do at this point? But I've started like coloring, or like kind of coloring in my eyebrows, I guess, which I've never done before. So it's really weird, and I feel like I look really weird. But when I don't do it, like, I don't really have anything right here. Well, you can kind of, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, it's very thin right here, but then I might have it right here. And then there's a few right here, and I have like a bald spot here. I mean, it's stupid looking, so I've been kind of just trying to like lightly color them in just a little bit. I think I have like 2 eyelashes on the bottom. And the top lashes, they're thinner than normal, but they're still there, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, just kind of some weird changes these last few weeks. My leg hairs are really, really like soft, thin hairs. And so like on my knees, my razor doesn't even hardly like get them. So it's just, I shave maybe once a week now, but like whatever. It's just doing its own thing. So, so those things are kind of weird. The other day, just this past weekend, I noticed I had talked about my nail beds were bruised, and so it just looked like they were dirty and weird looking. It didn't really cross my mind that, you know, when you have a bruised nail bed and it grows out, that your nail kind of lifts. So that started. So on my thumb, I wish you could see things better, but I guess you can kind of see where it's like white. So that's all lifted right there. And then on this finger, it hasn't started yet, but like this whole section over is bruised. So that's going to be lifting. So I cut my nails way down yesterday and just was thinking like hopefully I don't snag them on anything or like they lift up and like I just, you know, hook it on something, because I feel like they could just really like rip off. So that was a unusual thing to happen. I just didn't even think about it. I just thought, oh, they'll grow out. They'll look like I have like dirty, nasty fingernails until they grow out. Not thinking about, you know, there's blood under there. That's what makes a bruise. So they're going to be separated from the actual like bed. So anyway, there's that. So a week from yesterday will be my last treatment. And then I go on to surgery. This one's been really tough for me. I went to my surgeon on the 18th, and it was a really nice talk. I told her that I wanted the double mastectomy just because I want to be done and not have to worry about watching these other 2 spots that I have and just worrying about the future. And she was fine with that. So, this other gal that I know that had a mastectomy, she recommended her plastic surgeon, said she was great. So I went to her, got an appointment with her on July 24th. Actually, I've been to her twice, the 24th and the 31st. And I feel like my case is just so different than everybody else. And I know not everybody's the same. But all my doctor's appointments are like, you know, well, we don't know where your mass is. We don't know if it's in the lymph node or the breast, you know, that whole thing. And we don't know this, and we won't find this out until surgery or, you know, whatever. So I guess I was just hoping that surgery, you know, I'd get a mastectomy and then hopefully get reconstructive at the same time and be good. Well, everything's dependent on if I have to have radiation. They're not going to know if I have to have radiation until surgery because I still have this lump. It's not as big as it was, but it's still there. And even though it's there doesn't mean that there's active cancer, but since it's there, it means that there could be active cancer. So if there's active cancer cells in this mass, I'm going to have radiation. So as far as surgery is concerned, typically with radiation, what happens is your skin and your muscles all like really like kind of shrink and tighten up, and and weird things kind of happen. So this side would be different than this side. So everything that I do, I want to be, as symmetrical as possible. So I don't even know what order to say this all in. Okay, so surgery is going to be about 6 weeks after my last treatment. Then radiation would start about 6 weeks after surgery. Once radiation starts, there can be no more like expansion, in between a mastectomy and like implants. You can get these things called expanders, and basically what it's doing is going to be like expanding. I'll do it like this. So it's going to like your chest wall, and it's going to be in here making a breast for you. So every week you go in and get injected with some like saline or whatever to expand this expander to make kind of a pocket for your implant, so that way your skin stretches out. Because during a mastectomy, what you're left with typically is about a third of like the skin and size that you were before. So I'm a C right now, a third of that size, you're looking at probably an A, which I don't care about size. It's not that big of a deal, but I do want something. Anyway, so I have some pictures here. So the expander, like I said, it's in between like the chest wall, and it's just like kind of like an implant, but not. And then they just are able to like pump it up to get to the size you want. Well, that typically takes 8 to 12 weeks, and I have about 6 weeks. So I am not going to be able to get to what I am now, which, like I said, I don't care. The problem is that with the radiation, I can get the expanders, and I can get as big as I can get before radiation. But your skin changes so much, so by the time after radiation, I have to wait 6 months to get implants. So that was really hard news, because now this whole journey is 6 months longer than I thought. I was doing pretty good, thinking, I got this and this and this and and I'll be done. And not really knowing exactly the time frame of everything, but never expecting, essentially this time next year, still dealing with it and healing. So that would be like upwards of 1.5 years for this whole process. So that was just really, really hard for me to take. Not to mention, this plastic surgeon that I went to, she recommends this latissimus flap. I know I'm not saying that right, but whatever. Because of the probability of my skin not being very like elastic, and the healing properties, it's just all in disarray. You just never know. Like, I could be totally fine, or I could not. So to just cut out the question, they do this flap. They take muscle from your back, and you'll be left with an incision like this, and they flap it around to essentially allow a pocket so an implant can be put in there. So then I'll have scars like this. So they cut it and flip it around. This is what my back will look like, and this is what my front will look like. To keep things symmetrical, most people do both sides. I have never heard of that before. So not only was I in shock that I wouldn't even be able to do anything reconstructive per se. I mean, maybe get the expanders in, but whatever. I wouldn't even be able to start till 6 months after radiation. And then I have to have this like totally invasive surgery that I just think like, how do I even sleep? Like, I had surgery on my back and my front. And it's just really hard to take. Like, I've had a lot of good days. And I've had, for the most part, really positive thoughts. But at this point, I'm thinking like, my gosh, like, what else? Why can we not know how things, like, have a plan before, like, surgery, for example? So that's the worst case scenario. And it's really upsetting because I've pretty much been worst case scenario every time. So that's kind of like a downer moment for me. Best case scenario is I have the mastectomy. They cut out that spot. They send it to path. And then, depending on how I heal, you know, typically they say about 3 months, but it could be sooner. Then they can start reconstructive. So at that point, I would get expanders put in and get pumped up to whatever size that I see fit. And then approximately 3 months later, get implants put in. And then I would be done. So that's best case scenario. I really want to stay positive and think, oh, it's going to be best case scenario. Like, it has to be. But they've said all along, I mean, odds are like 95% that I'm going to have radiation. So let's see, 12 weeks, and radiation will start, and then 3 to 6 weeks of radiation, and then 6 months after that, surgery, finally. So, I don't want that back surgery. I think that is just insanity to even, like, who came up with that? And they're like, oh, it's okay, like, you'll be a little less, you'll notice a little more weakness in your back, but, you know, you'll still be able to function, no big deal. And I'm like, what? You're cutting muscle from my back to make breasts. They're really not that important to me. I mean, like I said, I don't care what size I am. I would just like something there, just to fill up a swimming suit or a bra, a shirt, you know, whatever. Like, I don't care if it's an A cup. So, I am seeking a second opinion to see what they say. And they'll probably say the same thing, but maybe they won't. That's the whole purpose of a second opinion. So, I'll go to see that person on Wednesday, see what they have to say, and then kind of go from there. At this one, not talking negative about this other doctor, and I'm not even gonna bring up their name, but relatively newish, not really, but just not as much experience as this other person. So maybe this other one can just make me feel a little bit more comfortable about avoiding that flap surgery, or have better success rate not doing the flap. It's just a really big gamble because that first doctor was saying, like, the skin could literally split open. Like, it doesn't have enough, like I said, elasticity, and it literally splits open. That's like, ooh. I mean, I understand the reasoning for doing this surgery. I mean, it makes perfect sense, and it's horrifying, some of the thoughts and stories that were being told. But that surgery sounds horrifying to me. Like, it's not worth it. So, after seeing this, getting a second opinion, I just may decide that I don't need any reconstruction. So, it's been rough, a couple weeks, but I'm just trying to focus on the near future, like the tomorrow. You know, I have my last session, like I said, on the 8th. It's so exciting. And I'll ring a bell and I'll take a video and I'll show you guys. And it's gonna be great. And then I leave for vacation on the 10th. I don't know if I told you. I know I said I had a trip planned. Sorry, I'm at disaster zone. I also have a summer cold or something, so I'm extra snotty. But the trip that I had planned for like a year, my doctor said my numbers have been good this whole time, and so he said it was fine if I go. So I'm really excited. So I'll be gone on the 10th to put my feet in the sand. So I'm really, really excited for that. Like I said prior to that, so Wednesday, the second opinion, Thursday, my last treatment, Friday, my last injection, Saturday, getting on a plane. And then I'll just think about my options and figure it out. I don't have to be super rushed about like the reconstructive side, but then again, I just want to kind of have a plan and be done with it. So anyway, so that's the big news, and I will make sure to update on this second doctor and let you know what they say, and hopefully I won't be such a mess and I'll have some better news. So anyway, until next time, have a good one. Bye-bye.